Good afternoon, everyone. This is Bonnie Sultan. We were talking to the Second Chance Act two-phase Adult Reentry Demonstration Program grantees for FY2015. Welcome, everyone. Congratulations again on your award. I am met today with one of our colleagues over at the Bureau of Justice Assistance, Mr. Anthony Bethea, and he is going to be talking with you a bit more about the demo program and the resources available through you through BJA and the Justice Center. So the overview of what we're going to be discussing today, with the Council of State Governments, we're going to talk about the Justice Center. We're going to talk about your grant program, the type of work that we provide over at the center, as well as the planning and implementation guide that's required as part of your grant. And then we're going to wrap up at the end with some of the questions from your field. So if you have any types of questions, please feel free to chat them into the box, and we can answer them at the end of the call. About the Justice Center, we are a national nonprofit organization that serves policymakers at the local, state, and federal level from all branches of government. Staff provide practical, nonpartisan advice and evidence-based, consensus-driven strategies to increase public safety and strengthen communities. Technical assistance for your Second Chance Act grant is provided by the National Reentry Resource Center, which is funded by the Bureau of Justice Assistance and managed by us here at the Justice Center. The NRRC provides support to SCA grantees and the broader field. We are constantly adding new content and resources to our website, and we send out a monthly newsletter that provides information about the latest research, funding opportunities, distance learning events, and other news about reentry. We encourage everyone who hasn't done so already to sign up for our newsletter. You can visit the link on your screen after today's webinar. You'll also see a slide in front. You can just click subscribe, and you will be hooked onto all of our resources. Again, we just want to have a big congratulations to all of the folks out there who won the Second Chance Award for demo. It was a huge competition this year. Everyone should be very proud of themselves. We are all very excited to be working with you. We have folks from California, Indiana, Connecticut, Louisiana, Florida, Guam, New Jersey, Washington, and Texas. We will be connecting you throughout the year to each other and other demo grants. And again, we just want to extend our sincere congratulations and let you know that we very much look forward to working with you. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the grant program itself. I'm going to hand the baton over to our colleague in DC, Andre Bethea.
Thank you, Bonnie. And to the grantees, congratulations on being awarded this highly esteemed Second Chance Act program. The purpose of the Adult Demonstration Program. Within the context of this initiative, reentry is not envisioned to be a specific program, but rather a process that begins when the individual is first incarcerated, pre-release, and ends when his or her successful community reintegration, post-release. The project timeline. Grant funding is for a 36-month project period. The initial award period for these grants are 36 months from October 2015. The initial funding available for the planning phase is $50,000. After completing a planning and implementation guide, also known as PNI guide, that is approved by BJA, the implementation funds are released. These are mandatory project components which are elaborated on in the grant solicitation. Let's start with number one, the ability to track unique identifiers for participants, gain access to recidivism data, and report recidivism data, and particularly returns to incarceration during period 1 year after the release. Number 2, engagement of a research partner to assist with finalization of a strategic plan, data collection and analysis, finalizing the baseline recidivism rate, forecasting eligible program participant flow to ensure program utilization rates, monitoring and evaluating performance. The research partner can be an independent consultant or located in an academic institution, a state statistical analysis center, or a research organization. The research partner should have demonstrated expertise conducting the type of work proposed. Number 3, provide a baseline recidivism rate for the proposed target population, including documentation to support the development of the rate. All grantees will be required to provide a baseline recidivism rate upon award. There are certain allowable uses for the grant funds laid out in the grant solicitation. Support of a reentry task force comprised of relevant state, tribal, territorial, or local leaders and representatives of relevant agencies, service providers, nonprofit organizations, and other key stakeholders. The task force should examine ways to pool resources and funding streams, implement best practices in reentry, and collect outcome data from stakeholder agencies and organizations. The task force should be the primary resource for development of a reentry strategic plan. Continued development of a reentry strategic plan that describes the long-term strategy, including measurable, annual, and 5-year performance outcomes relating to the long-term goals of increasing public safety and reducing recidivism. The reentry strategic plan must present a multidisciplinary, jurisdiction-wide reentry strategy to improve outcomes for individuals leaving prison or jail that incorporates the effective practices and policies. Incorporate a detailed implementation schedule and sustainability plan for the reentry strategy. Include discussion of the role of the local government agencies, nonprofit organizations, and community stakeholders. Include extensive evidence of collaboration with state and local agencies overseeing health, mental health, housing, including partnerships with public housing authorities, homeless services, child welfare, education, substance abuse, victims services, and employment services, and with local law enforcement agencies as well. Discuss the role of state corrections departments, community corrections agencies, local jail and or juvenile correction systems, and ensuring successful reentry of individuals returning from incarceration to their communities. Applications must include letter of support from correction officials responsible for facilities or the individuals to be served through this project. Now let's get into the allowable uses for award funds. During the implementation phase, you must use an actuarial-based assessment instruments for reentry planning. In addition, you must target criminogenic needs that affect recidivism. Provide sustained case planning, management in the community. Support a comprehensive range of services for formerly incarcerated persons. Provide staff training, resources for civil legal aid, and Affordable Care Act, assisting with eligibility determination and enrollment. So please review the OJP financial guide at the website that is listed on this particular PowerPoint and was made available to you in the solicitation. Support to meet requirements. There are 3 types of support available to adult demonstration grantees. Your BJA policy advisor is available to you to assist with any grant management needs. This includes budget approval and modifications and proposed changes in the scope of your program. The PMT, which is used to report on data from your program, is administered by CSR Incorporated. Technical issues regarding the tool can be brought to them. Then there is the technical assistance from the Council of State Governments National Reentry Resource Center. TA providers offer a wide variety of support related to content, implementation, and facilitation. Technical assistance, also known as TA, from the CSG NRRC. Each site is assigned its own TA provider, which will be contacting you shortly in the upcoming weeks. Now we'll pass the presentation on to Bonnie Sultan, who will talk about the grantee support the NRRC can provide and the planning and implementation guide.
Thank you, Andre. This segment of the presentation of grantee support aims to explain the how, the what, and the who around technical assistance. In other words, after this segment, you should have a better idea of what TA support aims to accomplish, how we aim to accomplish said things, and how we'll go about delivering the support to you specifically. So here's the what. The Second Chance Act is the Second Chance Act grantee is assigned an NRRC technical assistance provider, or in short, a TA provider, that provides support in a number of ways. So for instance, as you complete the Planning and Implementation Guide, otherwise known as the P&I Guide, that I'll give more information about in a little while, you'll find that your TA provider is available to field any types of questions, help you review the guide, provide any type of constructive feedback on your planning and implementation plans before you submit that guide to BJA for final approval. Your TA provider aims to work with you to identify and execute a tailored technical assistance plan that takes into account the importance of tracking progress with grant deliverables and collaboratively finding solutions to any barriers you may face along the way. Finally, the NRRC's mission is to advance the reentry field through knowledge transfer and dissemination and to promote evidence-based practices. As such, we will ask your permission to share any successes with reducing recidivism or creative solutions to challenge the bridging of gap between theory and practice. So here's the how. By completing the P&I Guide, meeting your grant deliverables, and producing successes that the field should learn about does not always come easily. Your TA provider understands this and the variety of challenges you may be faced with. More importantly, your provider understands that barriers typically require targeted strategies. While there is no one-size-fits-all solution to the challenges we face when we launch reentry initiatives, this slide provides 7 examples of common targeted efforts TA providers at the Justice Center have used to help grantees. I had an adult demonstration grantee once that was interested in item number 4. Item number 4 says objective feedback and recommendations, and what this grantee asked was for literature on their issue, something that could provide them guidance on how to navigate barriers. They were having problems with securing housing for their participants in a rural setting. I provided them with a number of publications related to housing in general and navigating housing solutions in rural settings more specifically. I also sent out an email to another adult demonstration grantee to see if they had any recommendations on resolving the issue. We got back a number of excellent recommendations for the grantees, and I invited them to consider if housing was something they would be interested in thinking about to focus on for their number 1 TA issue on guidance, as well as engage with leadership concerning this issue. The reasoning behind my recommendation is that the leadership team, who's comprised of policymakers and decision makers of their respective agencies, We're in a position to think about any policy barriers to housing and consult with housing authorities to arrive at a long-term solution. This grantee arrived at a short-term fix to their housing issue thanks to their own ingenuity and support of the other grantees, and as well what we offered. But further, they also did engage with that larger stakeholder group to begin policy changes for the long term. I would encourage you to discuss any of these strategies with your TA provider, either something with housing or moving forward in any other realm so that we can assist you and all of your planning needs. Here's the how of the NRRC. We aim to be responsive to your needs, and we encourage you to let us know them in advance so we can be most effective for you, your team, your community. You and your TA provider should discuss the ideal method and frequency of contacts. We recommend engaging in monthly check-ins via phone or email. We have found that contacts vary in frequency depending on each grantee. Some grantees prefer to check in with their TA provider more frequently during the planning phase of their grant than during implementation, while other grantees are completely opposite in that respect. You'll find that your TA provider will have a wealth of knowledge in key theories and practices in reentry. We encourage you to tap into those knowledge and challenges that we can encourage you to be a part of the network of colleagues and experts in the field. If any of these questions are beyond our particular area of expertise, we can certainly link you to somebody who has the answer and can work with you and your team to find a long-term solution. Because we're contracted by BGA to provide you this technical assistance support, it is our duty to provide them with information upon request about your progress. However, it is not our duty to serve as auditors and find faults to report to BGA. Next, we're going to talk about the Planning and Implementation Guide. The P&I Guide provides a starting point for planning an effective reentry strategy. It is not intended to be a detailed step-by-step blueprint. As a planning tool, the P&I Guide is meant to help you think about a strategy for reducing recidivism and promoting safe and effective reentry among the individuals targeted in your grant. When you submitted your grant application, you explained a bit about your program goals, leaders, and key stakeholders that support your initiative, evidence-based practices you will use, and intentions to evaluate the program. The P&I Guide invites you to expand on how you envision to accomplish your goals, engage your leaders, implement EBPs, and carry out effective evaluation. Although the P&I Guide was developed principally as a tool for the SCA demo grants, it can also help your TA provider understand the status and project, as well as the types of challenges you're encountering and ways that we might be able to assist you in making success. For all adult demonstration grantees, access to implementation funds is contingent upon the completion of the P&I Guide, followed by a review and approval by BJA. As I mentioned previously, there are 4 sections to the P&I Guide. I'll go through the contents of each section momentarily, but I wanted to provide you an overview of how each section is structured. Each section begins with a description of key practices for promoting safe and effective reentry. You don't get a deep dive into evidence-based practices just enough to explain what the EBP section is mostly focused on. The description or narrative section is followed by exercises that prompt you to identify the degree to which these practices are in place in your jurisdiction. On your screen, you're going to see the overview of the 4 sections of the P&I Guide. Section 1, Identifying Implementation Goals, helps summarize the program narrative submitted to BJA to get at the essence of the changes underway and ensures that all readers are provided succinct clarity on the scope of the proposed program. Section 2, Establishing Collaborative Decision-Making, helps you engage leadership needed to drive the planning and implementation process. Section 4, Mapping Out Your Proposed Reentry Model, will help you and all relevant stakeholders make key decisions about how your reentry model will work. And finally, Section 4, Program Evaluation and Sustainability, will help make key decisions up front about questions you may like to see answered by your program evaluation and invites you to begin a conversation very early on about how you plan to sustain the program once funding ends. I'm now going to pass the baton over to my colleague at BJA.
Thanks, Bonnie. So we're starting to look at Section 2, which is collaborative decision-making. The establishment of an effective leadership structure is not simply a mandatory requirement for all adult demonstration grantees, but an essential strategy for improving program outcomes. Effective planning and implementation of services requires coordination across multiple agencies, state and local justice systems, and service providers. In addition to serving as a strategic planning and implementation oversight body, effective leadership can also help unite all system stakeholders around what works to reduce recidivism rates and improve other outcomes while promoting a coordinated approach across systems for data sharing, assessment, case planning, and service delivery. Finally, an effective leadership structure ensures agency leaders work together to advance and support jurisdiction-wide supervision policy and practice changes. This section will help you. Now we're talking about Section 3, mapping out your proposed reentry model. The Adult Demonstration Program asks grantees to implement evidence-based strategies to decrease recidivism, including the incorporation of a risk and needs assessment, the adoption of client engagement strategies like motivational interviewing, and case management that aims to mitigate risk. The purpose of Section 3 is to ensure that activities are implemented with fidelity to evidence-based practices. Section 4, Program Evaluation Sustainability. I want to highlight that the exercises for the evaluation part of Section 4 addresses two types of evaluations. There are process evaluations and impact evaluations. The exercises will ask you to document process evaluation goals to examine whether strategies were implemented as planned and identified any barriers encountered. The exercise also asks you to develop an impact evaluation plan to assess effectiveness by measuring change that has occurred as a result of the program. And now I'll hand it back over to Bonnie.
Thank you so much, Andre. We really appreciate that. With that, we'll go ahead and we'll answer some of your questions. Please enter your questions into the Q&A panel box, and we'll get to as many as we can. We'll certainly be sure to follow up if there's certain questions that don't allow for time. We're just waiting a couple of seconds to see who, if anyone types in any questions for us. So we are getting a couple of questions coming up concerning the conference. So the conference will be happening next month in December 2015. It will be held in Washington, D.C. The conference will be held the week of December 14th. The SCA, Second Chance Act part of the conference will begin on Wednesday and will go through Friday of that week. If you have any questions about the panels, if you have any questions about participants, please feel free to give me a call or an email. My email will be shown at the end of this presentation. We certainly encourage you to bring along any of your program staff that are going to be key parts of this work. Please do ask to have any questions your evaluator may have. Please come and share that with us. We'll also have an opportunity to introduce all of our demo grantees together, so you'll have some time to talk with each other so we can really learn the work that's happening in FY15 cohort for the demonstration grants.
P&I guide?
Great. So we have a question concerning the P&I guide. We are currently in our final editorial process of the P&I guide, so it will be released by the end of this year, so quite shortly. I have a question from Alameda County, scheduled to attend the conference for 2 grants. Congratulations, Alameda County. Will you be participating in the same sessions? It depends on you. So for any other type of conference you've been to, you've certainly seen that you have an option of going to different sessions or different plenaries depending upon your work and your interest. Now that you're going to have more folks there, you can decide if you'd like to have everyone go together or if you can have folks scatter. It's completely up to you. And yes, you will be afforded the same sessions, and it's completely up to you what you would like to attend. The only part that's more specific is when we do meet by cohort. So, for example, if you are meeting with the demonstration grantees, just be sure to have a colleague that's able to meet with what other grant track is able to meet at that time, so you can meet with all of your colleagues for all the different grants. And congratulations, that's wonderful. Do we have any other questions coming in from the field? Doesn't seem so. Okay. If you end up having any questions moving forward, you can certainly contact me. You'll get my email address as we conclude this webinar. We're all very excited here at the Justice Center to be working with you on behalf of the Council of State Governments Justice Center, as well as the Bureau of Justice Assistance. We congratulate you again on this amazing honor. We very much look forward to working with you, getting to know you, and introducing you to one another next month at the conference. So with that, we'll sign off, and we will see you in December. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good rest of your day.